Chapter 7, Managing Your Body Budget. How well our brain and body operate depends on our available energy and how we care for them. My brainy friend John has a Ph.D. in biochemistry and molecular biology. We have had long discussions to ensure I understood how molecules of emotion work. He mentioned how our cells are exquisitely influenced by their environment. Our external environment directly impacts the internal environment. While there are factors over which we have no control, we can still direct a lot. Balance is such a beautiful word to me and a theme in this book. I try not to apply negative and positive emotions, but the terms are so embedded in our language I must. Stress is labeled a negative emotion when there's proof it can have a positive effect when used correctly. Romantic love is a positive emotion that can harm someone when given too freely or inappropriately to the wrong person. When it comes to emotions, it is about balance, appropriateness, and awareness. In the world of energy management, an energy vampire is a device that continues to use energy and drain power even when turned off. That is a significant leak in the budget. In the last chapter, I mentioned how stress could become habituated, making it difficult for the body to get out of this state, even at rest, sucking our energy. That is an energy vampire. According to the Mayo Clinic, long-term activation of the stress response system and overexposure to cortisol and other stress hormones can disrupt almost all your body's processes, putting you at risk of many health problems, including anxiety, depression, digestive problems, headaches, muscle tension and pain, heart disease, heart attack, high blood pressure and stroke, sleep problems, weight gain, memory and concentration impairment. These conditions aren't just from the stressors we usually associate when discussing stress, work, relationships, money, etc. Excessive exercise can induce a stress response. In the paper, Exercise-Induced Stress Behavior, Gut Microbiota, Brain Access, and Diet, a systematic review for athletes, written by researchers Alison Clark and Nuria Mock, they stated fatigue, mood disturbances, underperformance, and gastrointestinal distress are common among athletes during training and competition. The psychosocial and physical demands during intense exercise can initiate a stress response. There's a high correlation between physical and emotional stress during exercise. Not many of us are involved in this strenuous training, but my point is that even something good for us in excess can be detrimental. Many years ago, a nurse provided another example of something good for us with a bad outcome. She told the account of a young girl who died in the emergency room after drinking too much water, as excessive thirst is a side effect of taking ecstasy or Molly. She drowned internally because the water diluted her blood. We want to slay our energy vampires, but at the same time, be balanced in our approach, mindful of what works for us and what doesn't. And most of all, be curious. We change. More specifically, our perceptions change, which influences our present experience. I have a friend who always says yes to whatever we prepare when she comes over for dinner. Even though we serve something she didn't enjoy in the past, she's open to the fact that we might prepare it in a way she likes. Isn't that a great way to approach most things in life? I think so. I'm now sharing some suggestions to help you manage your body budget. Of course, we will start with one of the oldest adages in the medical community. Eat right, exercise, and get plenty of rest. It still holds true, especially since foods have many additives and chemicals. Food is medicine. Let food be thy medicine and medicine thy food, is the famous quote by Hippocrates, known to many as the father of medicine. Even with the advent of modern drugs, the importance of healthy eating and the healing property of foods still ring true. Food is also a mood medicine, impacting our emotions and the predictive ability of our brains. We have become so familiar with manufactured drugs that we forget that plants have been used for centuries to treat wounds and heal people. A few years back, my surgery scar was healing very poorly. I was referred to a wound specialist. She gave me a medical-grade Manuka honey. All impurities were removed to avoid infection. It healed beautifully. I tend to scar badly, so after a second surgery, I used it with excellent results. There are more stories of food helping to heal the inside by restricting the intake, such as in the case of sugar, or adding it to our diet. I've never heard a doctor say, stop eating green leafy vegetables is general advice. After removing gluten from my diet, I experienced many positive changes, physically and emotionally. I suffered from stomach issues for years, feeling bloated and swollen. Mostly this went away after eliminating gluten from my diet. If I eat pasta, I swell from neck to knees and have digestive issues. I also notice a change in my mood. I get short-tempered with my husband and am quicker to get upset over something stupid because I don't feel as good. It might also be related to brain inflammation, as researchers found it has that effect on mice. I used to worry about sugar intake because of my teeth. My sister and I joke that our mom must have had a thing for the dentist because we had so many cavities as kids. The truth is, we ate a lot of sweets and pastries. Now we know that sugar isn't just the enemy of our teeth, but also an adversary of the brain. It is readily available and very addictive. Several years ago, I cut out sugar cold turkey. The withdrawal was horrible, and it took 2 to 3 days. That is how much sugar I used to consume. I have read that it can take weeks for some people to feel relief from all the symptoms. This exercise demonstrated to me the power of sugar addiction. There are books, studies, blogs, and other media on the dangers for the brain and the entire body. A high-sugar diet creates inflammation, as will other poor choices like ultra-processed foods you find in packages. Other inflammatory foods include the whites: white flour, white rice, and white bread. As much as I enjoy my chips, they contain trans fats, chemically altered to remain solid at room temperature. While it may taste good, just the idea of eating solid fat grosses me out. Chronic inflammation in the body is linked to all sorts of conditions. Symptoms include balance problems, insulin resistance, muscle weakness, diarrhea, lower back pain, tiredness, hardening of the arteries, blood clotting, dry eye, and memory issues, which can lead to dementia. The sad thing is that people can eat 3 meals a day and still be nutritionally starved because they are not getting enough natural foods. Eating healthy is easier said than done, especially given food prices and the availability of nutritious options. 100 years ago, everything was organic. Now you pay extra to eat healthy. We even pay for water. How did life get so turned around? The fundamentals of healthy living come at a cost. Regarding help with nutrition, I recommend you find someone you connect with for advice on healthy eating, be it on social media, courses, or books. The two that I like are Dr. Mark Hyman and Dr. Daniel Amen. I took Dr. Amen's brain health certification course and learned so much from him. I found Dr. Mark Hyman on Instagram. He educates in a way that is appealing to me. He provides recipes and explains the benefits of the foods contained therein. I sometimes think medical professionals forget their audience might not be educated in medical terminology, so you might have to look up some of the unfamiliar words. But once again, the advice is always to eat natural and organic. If needed, take supplements, all of which can come with a hefty price tag. That said, we can still make better choices in our food selections. The internet has advice on how to eat healthy on a budget. Volumes of books have been written on nutrition and its importance. If we're not eating well, our moods can suffer because our brains aren't functioning optimally. Our immune system can be compromised, along with other bodily systems. If our body is chugging to work because we don't eat properly, the brain works harder also. Remember, it isn't what you do occasionally, but what you do every day. While some can cut bad foods out of their lives forever, I am not that person. I've tried. What I have done is make changes to improve my less healthy habits. My chocolate is darker, which means higher nutritional benefits. I seek out organic food. We have a small backyard with a garden that produces a variety of vegetables and some fruit trees. Using the food we grow to cook with or eat straight from the vine or tree is nice. I love a sun-ripened peach hot off the branch. I have neighbors who use their front yard to grow veggies. While we all don't have fruit trees or gardens, trying to buy more fresh products from a farmer's market or a grocery store works. As stated earlier, I rarely eat gluten. I don't have celiac, but my gut is sensitive to it. I can sometimes eat a small amount of it, but when I eat too much, my body starts yelling at me to stop. If the flour is organic, it doesn't bother me as much. But occasionally, if some glutinous item Andrew is eating looks tasty or he is making yummy sounds, I will ask, is it gluten-worthy? If yes, I will enjoy some, knowing I may pay the price for a few days. There is a balance between eating healthy and emotions. There is a joy that comes with enjoying a fine meal, what some call a cheat day. That sounds so naughty, like you're doing something terrible. Is it so wrong? If your daily diet doesn't produce satisfaction and joy, you're robbing yourself of one of the purposes of food. Otherwise, why do we have multiple sensory systems that impact how we perceive flavors? If the emotional component of food and drink is to stuff feelings, then this is where help might be required. I had troubles in my relationship with food, thus the horrible sugar withdrawal, and now it is different. I occasionally eat for emotional reasons, but I'm aware of it. A more lasting diet plan balances joy, satisfaction, and healthy eating. You can hear your body speaking when you connect to your body's interoceptive signals. What's right for you isn't necessarily suitable for another person. Figuring that out only happens when we are listening. Your microbiome. A microbiome is a community of microorganisms in a particular environment. The gut microbiome is an emerging area of research and the topic for many articles and podcasts on healthy living. I took a course through New Scientist Academy titled Gut Health: How Your Microbiome Shapes Your Health and Well-Being. It helped me understand the importance of our microbiome. What I'm about to share is from the course, but you might want to consider taking it yourself. We host 1 trillion of microbial cells in and on our bodies, slightly outnumbering your human cells 1.1 to 1. They are essential to our physical and mental health. While there's a way to go until science completely understands, research has shown that generally, the more diverse your microbiome is, the better it is for your health. Most of the body's microbiome is found in your gut and influences your brain. There are a variety of bacteria involved in our microbiome. Too much or too little of a type of bacteria can create the potential for health risks. Once again, bacteria get labeled good or bad. However, both exist in our gut for a purpose yet to be discovered. They can trigger immune responses that can alter chemical signals to the brain. These microbes make metabolites needed for maintaining health that can change how neurons connect to and communicate with each other, which ties to how we construct our emotion recipes. Want to know what microbes are in the gut at any point in time? It's in the poop. It's yucky, but true. The idea may sound gross, but researchers fed mice fecal samples from people. Yes, you read that right. These poor mice were fed people's poop. Why? Because stool contains our bacteria. The mice that received the gut microbes from depressed people developed symptoms of depression and became more anxious. More studies are needed, but there might be a link between depression and our gut microbiome. It makes sense since 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. Serotonin is labeled a happy chemical because it affects mood, emotions, sleep, appetite, and digestion. Because it was successful with mice, they also started treating people with debilitating gastrointestinal infections with fecal microbiota transplants. In search for donors, at the time of this writing, Human Microbes' call to action on their company website is, "Your poop could save someone's life." There's a lot of research concerning our physical and emotional health in the gut microbiome world. But if there was ever a reason for me to eat healthy, it would be to avoid a poop transplant. A diet rich in fruits and vegetables helps create a diverse microbiome. Red wine has also been associated with microbial diversity, along with fermented foods and legumes. Consuming high amounts of animal products depletes the number of beneficial bacteria. People who eat a lot of red meat also tend to have higher bacterial levels that cause gut inflammation. Too much sugar also negatively impacts the gut microbiome. The common sense recommendation of maintaining a healthy, balanced diet still stands. The greater diversity in your diet can lead to a more diverse microbiome. Eat high-fiber foods like bananas, apples, beans, whole grains, broccoli, and green peas. Some other good choices are fermented foods like yogurt, kombucha, kimchi, and sauerkraut. The yogurt should not contain added sugars or sweeteners. Try to stick with plain and unsweetened. Our gut microbiome is as unique as we are and will likely influence how we respond to changes in our diet, so we can't expect results similar to others. Exercising emotions. Exercise is great because it increases blood flow to the brain, assists with the removal of excess cortisol, and stimulates the production of neurotrophins, which one researcher called brain food. Neurotrophins help keep brain cells alive. These reasons are why exercise is associated with increased memory and learning, dementia prevention measures, and reduced anxiety and depression. These reasons are why exercise is associated with increased memory and learning, dementia prevention measures, and reduced anxiety and depression. Michelle Plowman from the Memorial University of Newfoundland wrote a paper, "Exercise is Brain Food: The Effects of Physical Activity on Cognitive Function." It is a review of a compilation of studies comparing treatments. The paper reported that exercise and standard antidepressant treatments were equally effective or beneficial as an add-on therapy to antidepressants. The paper reported that exercise and standard antidepressant treatments were equally effective or beneficial as an add-on therapy to antidepressants. I have a good friend named Jamie who suffers from anxiety. She manages it with exercise. She has a standing desk and a treadmill made to go underneath the desk. Because she has a stressful job that adds to her anxiety, she works on her computer while she walks on her treadmill. That explained the heavy breathing during our phone call one day. Another example is a friend's granddaughter. She manages her ADHD by going to the gym daily. If possible, dieting and exercising to avoid taking drugs seems like a reasonable goal. Here in the United States, advertisements for antidepressant medications come with a litany of side effects. They even have drugs to manage the side effects. If possible, exercise seems like a great alternative. Of course, if you are taking any medication, do not stop until you consult your doctor. Some of the antidepressant drugs require you to wean off of them. Plus, it might be in your best interest to reduce the dose rather than stop. Go for a walk if you want to improve your mood. It also helps lower your dementia risk. Borja del Pozo Cruz, Matthew Amati, and Sharon Naismith co-wrote an article in JAMA Neurology entitled Association of daily step count and intensity with incident dementia in 78,430 adults living in the UK. In it, they found some fantastic benefits for putting on your walking shoes and getting out of the house. This cohort study of adults assessed with wrist-worn accelerometers found that accruing more steps per day was associated with steady declines in dementia incidence risk, up to 9,800 steps per day, beyond which the benefits upturned. The dose associated with 50% of maximal observed benefit was 3,800 steps per day, and steps at a higher intensity or cadence were associated with lower incidence risk. The findings in this study suggest that accumulating more steps per day just under the popular threshold of 10,000 steps per day and performing them at a higher intensity may be associated with a lower risk of dementia onset. The key is to find something you enjoy and try things that you thought you didn't like. Keeping fit is closely connected to emotional health. If you have been struggling, this might be the missing piece of your wellness goals. Get plenty of rest. Sleep may be as crucial to health and well-being as diet and exercise. Sleep is vital for brain health. All day long, the processes in our brains create waste. When we sleep, the brain's janitors clean up all the waste, so we start the next day waste-free. Repair work also occurs while we sleep. Tissue repair, muscle growth, and the process of making proteins essential to cell function. Not getting enough sleep impacts learning and memory. There's a part of the brain called the hippocampus where consolidation of information from short-term to long-term memory takes place. Without proper sleep, there is the potential that our memories aren't processed correctly. Memories and experiences are our emotion recipes, so our emotion management relies on a good night's sleep. Sleep also helps the body to fight disease and maintain health. Sleep deprivation is linked to obesity, diabetes, immune function, cardiovascular disease, and hypertension. How much sleep do we need? The older we get, the less we need. The Sleep Foundation recommends that infants through preschool need anywhere from 11 to 14 hours. Ages 6 to 12 need 9 to 12 hours of sleep. Teens need 8 to 10, and adults need 7 or more. Once again, tune into what works best for you by paying attention to your body. Try to have a consistent sleep schedule. Andrew and I go to bed around 10 p.m. and wake up at 6 a.m. Sometimes I need more sleep, sometimes I need less. We change, and so do our requirements. Play with bedtimes and alarm settings. Take notice and believe your body when it feels like you need a bit more sleep than usual. Observe your energy and mood as a gauge of what you need. The why behind the power of controlled breathing. I'm a curious person by nature. If someone asks a question and nobody knows the answer, I search for it on my iPhone. It drives my sister and husband crazy, but I need to know. I watched the YouTube video, Being Brilliant Every Single Day, where neuroscientist Alan Watkins explains how pressure or stress creates a quote-unquote DIY lobotomy by creating signaling chaos in the brain, which shuts down thinking. We have all seen scenarios where someone can't answer the obvious question under duress. How about those game shows where the timer is running and the contestant doesn't know the answer until under pressure? Then, after the buzzer sounds out of time, they remember the correct response. That is the internal chaos created by a spike in cortisol, the stress hormone I referred to earlier. Dr. Watkins demonstrated how a controlled breathing technique can quickly calm the body, creating coherence. This is also the name of his book, Coherence, The Secret Science of Brilliant Leadership. Dr. Watkins defines coherence as a state of flow, state of maximum efficiency and super effectiveness, where the body and mind are one. The 3-year-old inside of me started asking, why? So in search I went. There is a strong relationship between the lungs, heart, and nervous system. When under pressure, either real or imagined, the response is to increase our breath and heart rates. People experiencing chronic stress and anxiety tend to breathe faster and more erratically. If we consciously manage our breath rate, it slows the heart rate and other functions of the body. The title says it all in the article. Breath work may improve mood and change physiological states more effectively than mindfulness meditation, by Laura Stalock for SciPost.org. She reports that, based on a 1-month study, researchers found that the cyclic sighing group had more significant improvement in positive feelings and reduced anxiety and negative emotions compared to the mindfulness meditation. Interestingly, research has found breathwork and mindfulness meditation have distinct differences. Unlike mindfulness meditation, breathwork involves intentionally altering the body's physiological state through controlled breathing techniques. Mindfulness meditation focuses on observing one's breath without actively trying to change it, with the goal of increasing present moment awareness. In the article, Cyclic Sighing Can Help Breathe Away Anxiety, Hadley Leggett, writer for Stanford Medical Magazine, explains how it works. The instructions are simple. Breathe in through your nose. When you've comfortably filled your lungs, take a second, deeper sip of air to expand your lungs as much as possible. Then very slowly exhale through your mouth until all the air is gone. The recommendation is to repeat the sighs for 5 minutes to get the fullest effect, but 1 or 2 of them will help you feel calmer. It also helps to focus on a pleasant memory or thought. Imagine being at your favorite place that calms you. For me, that would be the sound of the ocean's waves crashing on the shore and the smell of the sea air on a sunny day. It is best to breathe from the diaphragm, which sits just below the lungs and is the major muscle we use for respiration. If this is a challenge, put your hand on your belly button as you breathe. Doing this helps you connect to the diaphragm to get those deep breaths. Dr. Watkins also recommends inhaling to the count of 4 and out for 6, still from the diaphragm. It is less obvious to onlookers than cyclic sighing and still effective. It helps to keep your wits about you when you need it most and are around other people. Just because you look calm on the outside doesn't mean chaos isn't rampant on the inside. You can practice breathing at this pace alone, then with others around you, and then in a conversation. It is really that subtle and eventually can become a habit. You don't have to count because you will have the rhythm down, almost like a dancer. That way, you can calm the body in a tense situation or disagreement, hopefully avoiding the do-it-yourself phlebotomy. Why exhale longer than you inhale? That was the big question in my head. The answer has to do with the connection of our nervous system with our rate of breath. When you exhale, it activates the part of the nervous system that calms the body, the rest and relax response. We do it naturally after exertion. You have seen runners take deep breaths after a race. Yes, it has to do with replacing oxygen, but they also will start exhaling longer than they inhale as their body calms down. The opposite is true when we inhale. It excites us. What is a yawn? A big, deep inhalation when we are tired. We get a quick pick-me-up to help keep us awake. These examples demonstrate why controlled breathing is so effective. There are many different modes of controlled breathing or breath work. I shared 2. You can use apps on your phone to find what feels good for you. Don't get me wrong, I still meditate because it calms my mind. But when there is a metaphorical fire in the kitchen, breath work quickly puts it out. There are excellent tools for managing your energy, but what about our minds, our thoughts?